Welcome to the News 12 Now Desk. Thanks for joining us here on this Friday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. We've made it to the end of the week. Hopefully you guys have had a great week, and we've been rewarded today with a little bit of nicer weather than we've seen every other morning so far this week. It's a little bit warmer so far as we take a quick look at the 7-day forecast that we've got 76 degrees today, 58 the low, and that's kind of what we're seeing right now. It is a little cloudy out there if you're looking outside, maybe a little bit more than we'd like, but at least it is warm. We're taking a look at some of our top headlines today, the big stories going on both in the CSRA, in the state level, and then on the national level as well. But of course, we are going to start off locally, and actually this one's kind of local and regional. It's a follow-up on a Burke County man arrested after a 4-hour standoff at Walmart in North Carolina. He's now escaped from a hospital there in North Carolina. The Duplin County Sheriff's Office says Jerry Flakes was in custody at a hospital there for a mental evaluation, but he did manage to escape. The Sheriff's Office says the hospital police were in charge of watching Flakes while he was there. He was last seen wearing a blue hospital scrub top and pants, white socks, and a gold chain. So here's the backstory on that in case you forgot or didn't hear it yesterday. Wednesday, Wallace Police Department got a call about an armed robber near the Walmart loading docks. Police say Flakes tried to get in one of the trucks when the driver came outside. They say he then pointed his rifle towards the truck and told the driver to get in, but the driver ran. Instead, Flakes hopped in the truck, leading to a long standoff. At one point, police say Flakes pointed his gun at them, and they fired 5 shots, injuring Flakes, which is why he was in the hospital. Police believe Flakes, who's from Sardis, is dealing with mental health issues and is using narcotics. They say he's armed and dangerous. The GBI website shows the agency is keeping tabs on more than 200 unsolved homicide cases, and under House Bill 88, the Coleman-Baker Act, signed by Governor Kemp, families of homicide victims can request law enforcement agencies to review cold cases. This comes as a new task force created by the Washington County Sheriff's Office works to find a woman who's been missing for almost 20 years. Sonia Tukes went missing back in May of 2004. She stepped outside to take a phone call, and that was the last time her sister saw her. Our Taylor Martin takes us to a candlelight vigil outside of the Washington County Courthouse to show support for the family.
19 years? Too long. It's what Sonia Tukes' family feels every day as they wait for answers and closure. And after dozens of people turned out in support tonight, they say they're grateful. A large crowd with even larger support.
I feel good. I'm surprised to see the people that came out. I'm grateful as well.
After waiting patiently for 19 years, Sharon Tukes says the pain still lingers.
I guess I can put my pain on the back burner for my mom, but to see my mom hurt, it's unexplainable.
An unexplainable pain, Sheriff Joel Cochran says too many feel, and is the driving force behind why this case was re-energized.
We all can feel the pain. I cannot imagine the pain that the family's got. You know, we're leading up to the 19th anniversary on May the 10th of her disappearance, and you know, no one deserves that.
But one thing holding the family together, prayer.
We call home Sonia Tukes, God. Lord, you're able to bring her to a place, God, that, Lord Jesus, only you can make it happen.
Prayer is powerful. Prayer changes things, and can't nobody do what God can do.
As the anniversary of Sonia's disappearance gets closer, they're holding on to hope. Someone knows something and will have the heart to come forward.
I mean, I forgive you. I forgive whoever did something to my sister. I just want answer for my mom, for my family. I just want answer, closure, because we deserve that.
And closure is exactly what Sheriff Joel Cochran says this family is going to get, urging the Washington County community to come forward with any information on the disappearance of Sonia Tukes. Reporting in Washington County, Taylor Martin, on your side.
Okay, thanks for that, Taylor, and hopefully they are able to get some leads on that and somebody does come forward and share any information that they have. The I-Team is putting the spotlight on Burke County, one of the largest counties in the state, led by a sheriff who's seeing an increasing number of investigations from both county and state leaders over missing money and more. Our I-Team's Will Rios sits down with Sheriff Alfonso Williams to get some answers.
For more than 6 months, the I-Team has investigated what's going on at the top of the Burke County Sheriff's Office. Now, 3 different times since February, we've asked to talk to Sheriff Alfonso Williams directly about a GBI investigation and missing drug money and assets from his office. Our requests were denied every single time. We just recently followed up asking the sheriff to talk about his budget and spending. But before we knew the sheriff would be the one interviewing, their newly hired PIO emailed saying she'd be doing the interview on the sheriff's behalf. When the I-Team showed up, Sheriff Williams was the one sitting across from us.
What do you think your biggest needs right now are for your agency?
The biggest needs for our agency are obviously training, and we need a commission that we can work with. Our biggest need is trust.
The GBI confirmed on February 16th it is investigating former Waynesboro Police Department officer Gary Jenkins for irregularities in training records. On December 22nd of 2022, the chief investigator for the Waynesboro Police Department emailed Jenkins saying he was missing 2 classes, community policing and de-escalation training. Sheriff Williams was the instructor for those classes in question. They had to be completed by the new year. Jenkins's training record shows those classes were completed on December 29th. Sheriff Williams put this video on Facebook saying he gave those classes in his office at the Burke County Sheriff's Office. Williams says Jenkins repeatedly asked him to upload proof he took those classes. When Williams finally did on January 9th, he says he couldn't remember what day Jenkins and Mary Bennett took the classes, so we put it down as December 29th.
And I agreed to give him the instruction and give him credit for the instruction after the instruction was complete. I did do that.
The I-Team requested the sheriff's GPS and phone records. Sheriff Williams' location shows he wasn't even in Burke County at the time of the training. Phone records tell us the only day it could have been was on the 30th.
Listen, there is a significant GBI investigation right now going on into training records.
Okay, look.
That's not, I mean, that concerns everyone, concerns all the
How's that a budgetary issue?
It's not.
Okay, then that's
But I haven't had the chance to ask you about that.
You asked me to come and talk about budgetary issues, and I would appreciate you being straightforward.
In March, the I-Team exposed more than $53,000 in confiscated assets that went unaccounted for 6 years, according to county leaders like County Manager Merv Waldrop.
I started asking questions, looking into it. I couldn't find any deposits that matched that amount, $53,871.31.
This money came by the way of assets or evidence in unresolved court cases during former Sheriff Greg Corsi's tenure. It could be anything from a car, house, drugs, or straight cash. A signature on this letter from December of 2016 is that of Sheriff-elect Alfonso Williams. The county says that proves he knowingly signed for the confiscated assets down to the penny. Nearly a month later, Judge Danny Craig signed an order that those assets go to the sheriff's office to be used for law enforcement purposes. By law, the county says that money has to go into the Drug Enforcement Fund with the county so that can be tracked and budgeted. Our investigation exposed that Sheriff Williams did not do that for 6 years.
The community was asking where that money went for 6 years. That randomly showed up when questions were being asked. Where was that money for 6 years?
Look, every decision that I make regarding any expenditures in this office are done with the utmost integrity in a way that allows me to fulfill my constitutional obligations, okay? You go back and ask the county manager where it was for 26 years. You do that because I was very responsible in the way we handled our budgetary business. I'm going to continue to do so. All right.
So you can't say where those funds were, what they were used for at all. And correct me if I'm wrong.
The money is there. The money has always been there. The money has never been missing. All of this facade that the money was missing and all of a sudden it appears is bull.
The I-Team first showed you these surveillance pictures in March. The capture of Burke County deputy in uniform at Southern Bank with large amounts of cash. Those pictures and the deposits further threw up a flag for county officials. Now, while the total amount of money deposited that day was the same as the total that was said to be missing, a closer look at the denominations on the original asset sheet 6 years ago did not match what was deposited at Southern Bank.
Then, so that's the truth, is that it was never missing, is that you had it. That's all.
You're asking me if that's the truth, and that's what I just said to you, and you're going to follow up and say, is that the truth? Is that what you just said to me?
I'm just double checking.
You're not double checking. That's what I said to you earlier, Will. You are predisposed, and you come in with this predisposition. You have on camera that I just said to you that the money was never missing, and then you ask me that a second time.
It's just a follow-up question.
It's not a follow-up question because you heard what I said. You're predisposed to believe something other than what the truth is.
Sheriff Williams' spending habits have been under the microscope for some time. The I-Team went digging and found more questions about how the sheriff is spending taxpayer and federal dollars. In October of 2021, Sheriff Williams started using Kate's Firestone as his agency's auto shop in a no-bid contract instead of sticking with the county repair shop. The sheriff's office wrote in this email saying, Kate's Firestone is significantly less expensive for the sheriff's department needs compared to the county shop. Now, although the county can't compare the shops directly, they did tell the I-Team taxpayers are paying double for labor and a markup for parts. The county also says they had no idea what vehicles are being worked on. The I-Team also found that Kate's Firestone was recently at the center of a federal investigation. Daniel Cates and Grady Brandon Mobley pleaded guilty in a decades-long illegal gambling operation where hundreds of thousands of dollars in winnings were illegally funneled through businesses, including $250,000 funneled through Kate's Firestone. Cates was sentenced to 3 years probation. Mobley was sentenced to 5 years probation in order to pay more than $200,000 in restitution. The I-Team also obtained federal court documents and found Sheriff Williams was a character witness for Mobley, lobbying for a lesser sentence, calling him a model citizen. Campaign records show that both the Mobley and Cates families were big contributors to Alfonso Williams' campaign for sheriff.
I'm probably one of the most transparent folks you'll ever meet.
And there's more. County documents also show the sheriff's office is paying rent for a new training building on 6th Street. We found that rent is being paid to Robert McCafferty, who owns that building. We found that building is financed by both Cates and Mobley, who would be getting the rent money from the sheriff's office. Again, this is all happening as Sheriff Williams still has a GBI investigation looming large.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to run again in 2024. I'm going to run in 2028, and then I'll figure it out after 2032 whether I'll run in 2032. I'm going to be right here serving the people of Burke County.
So there you go. I think that's the third or fourth story Will has done in this investigation. If you want to see the full interview with Sheriff Alfonso Williams, if you want to see the documents you saw in the story there, if you want to see all the other stories, just head to our website, WRDW.com. Go to the I-Teams tab, and we've got everything in there that should kind of catch you up with what's going on. And then Will and I on Monday are going to stay here right at the News 12 Now desk and kind of go in depth on everything that he's talked about. So stick around for that. We'll have that on Monday. Okay. A second suspect is in custody in the shooting death of a 13-year-old outside of his apartment in downtown Augusta. The Richmond County Sheriff's Office tells us U.S. Marshals arrested Tia Jackson in West Virginia last month. This comes a day after they arrested Gregory Thornton in Pennsylvania. Authorities believe Buddy Brown died while trying to pick up food right outside of his apartment in downtown Augusta, and they say Thornton was trying to get into the building. They say they think Buddy wouldn't open the door for Thornton, and that may have cost him his life. Savannah and Georgia Southern could soon have a hand in training the Peach State's next generation of doctors. A partnership with the Medical College of Georgia here could bring more opportunities to students in Savannah. AU President Brooks Keel says MCG ranks 8th in the nation, and expanding into Savannah would boost that ranking.
We've already got a great relationship with St. Joe County there, and we've been talking to them about expanding that clinical opportunity for our junior and senior medical students. We think we have opportunities now to expand it even further with Georgia Southern. So,
leaders from Savannah say they're waiting for the governor's signature to approve a budget plan. Inside this massive warehouse lies dozens of pallets ranging from canned goods to shelf-stable milk. That's what it takes to feed thousands of families here in the CSRA. Golden Harvest Warehouse serves 25 counties where they serve more than 11 million meals with almost 300,000 families fed. The goal is to eliminate hunger, and even with all of this food in the warehouse, they're still seeing gaps in the communities they serve. Data from Feeding America says 1 in 8 families are still food insecure. Our Nick Veland was at Golden Harvest, where they are bringing in city leaders to address concerns about food insecurity.
Yeah, Richard, today was about finding the solution to hunger and food insecurity in our area. The Golden Harvest Food Bank and other organizations lend helping hands in various ways throughout our community, and today sparks hope for a possible long-term solution. Discussion. With a little bit of background noise from the Golden Harvest Food Bank construction as they're building up new ways to serve the community. Today, the food bank invited local leaders to collaborate to help fight hunger.
There was sort of a plateau after the pandemic, but I think now with the prices of things, we're really seeing an increase across our 25 counties.
Which includes a spike in those going on their website searching for food near them.
This issue has tapped everyone on the shoulder at least once in our lives, whether we had to go to food banks or whether we just had to scrape up money to be able to afford food. The issue here is just this issue around poverty.
Around the area, the Salvation Army has revamped handing out bus passes for Augusta Transit. These can also be picked up at the Kroc Center. Golden Harvest is participating in the Stamp Out Hunger food drive on May 13th, where the post office will be dropping off empty bags for those to fill with food and send back. Different organizations and events look to put the right foot forward to fight hunger and homelessness.
One of the things you walk away from is the passion that everybody has. That's key. Everybody's very passionate about this. The other thing you walk away from is the complexity of the issue, and that's something that always comes forward.
And with this complex issue, those in attendance know that the solution will take time, and in the coming weeks, Golden Harvest and the leaders in attendance today will be continuing the conversation. And just a reminder, Golden Harvest says that they're always in need of your time and also donations.
All right, thanks for that, Nick. One person is dead after a house fire on Cadden Road south of Bobby Jones Expressway. When crews got to the scene, they found a man inside, and the Richmond County coroner tells us the victim was burned beyond recognition. A witness tells us the woods surrounding the house were on fire as well. Renisha Quattlebaum was driving down Sally Road when her car ran off the road and hit an embankment, flipped, and hit a utility pole. She's now facing DUI, resulting in death after her daughter, 3-year-old daughter, Journey Quattlebaum, was killed in that crash. She's also charged with child endangerment charges. Boots on the ground and money in those boots. Yesterday, the annual Columbia County Fire Rescue annual boot drive kicked off. Crews are at Grovetown Kroger, Mullins Colony, Evans Walmart, Grovetown Walmart, and Fury's Ferry Road Neighborhood Market through tomorrow. They're raising money for the Columbia County Community Connections and the Burn Foundation of America.
The money we raise will go to help the victims of burns and their families that come to Doctors Hospital to get treatment, and for the needy in Columbia County.
And when you donate money, you get to take a picture right in front of a Columbia fire truck. So why not head down there? Good cause, and a little photo op there for you. Yesterday was a big day for the Bell Auditorium in the city of Augusta. The $17.5 million renovation and expansion project of the Bell has officially started with a groundbreaking ceremony. The fully funded SPLOS project will add 5,000 square feet, including a grand lobby and updated amenities.
This expansion, granting what I consider a true patron experience, and expanded restrooms, expanded concessions area, certainly gives us the ability to take it to the next level. In order to make a community vibrant, you've got to have vibrant lifestyle amenities. The James Brown Arena and the Bell Auditorium have done that. We started the process today with this groundbreaking to make sure that that continues for the next generation.
The Bell will close to all events starting July 1st, and if the project stays on track, it'll reopen next May. Events in the meantime will be at the James Brown Arena. A police veteran running a marathon each day to raise money for a fallen officer's family. 56-year-old Brett Sobiraski started running from Palatka, Florida on April 23rd and is making his way up to Rochester, New York. He's running more than 26 miles each day to get there. He ran through Burke County on Wednesday, and yesterday he was in Augusta. He hopes to make it to New York by June 11th. Richmond County High School graduates got an enthusiastic reaction during a walk yesterday. Here's the scene at Copeland Elementary School. The students lined the hall welcoming former students who are graduating from several high schools in the area. Students made banners and cheered as the seniors walked through the halls in full graduation caps and gowns.
I'm very passionate about goal setting, and so I want all my students, all my elementary school students, to set goals, and everyone's long-term goal should be to graduate high school.
The ceremony at Copeland Elementary ended when seniors rang a celebration bell. Congrats to all the seniors in 2023. The suspect in the deadly Midtown Atlanta shooting that left 1 dead and 4 in the hospital, waiving his right to his first court appearance yesterday. Deon Patterson is facing murder and aggravated assault charges. Meanwhile, details of his past coming out. Patterson was a former member of the Coast Guard. While he does have run-ins with the law, none of those offenses were violent. Our State House reporter Abby Casoris has more.
This part of Midtown is eerily quiet. The medical office building here remains closed after tragedy and chaos hit Atlanta. Police say the man accused of shooting and killing 1 woman and injuring 4 more will now go before a judge.
Walked out of the building. All I seen was police cars and SWAT, and everybody's just pulling up.
After a 7-hour manhunt throughout Atlanta, police captured 24-year-old Deon Patterson. Atlanta News' first helicopter over the scene in Cobb County last night as police took him into custody. He is facing murder and aggravated assault charges. Police say Patterson and his mother were on their way to an appointment at the Northside Midtown Medical Building just before noon. That's when police say Patterson pulled out a gun inside a doctor's office waiting room.
Why he did what he did, all that is still under investigation.
The 5 shooting victims were all women. 1 was pronounced dead at the scene. 4 more were transported to Grady Memorial Hospital. The hospital's chief medical officer says he's talked with the women under his care. One of the victims is expected to leave the hospital today.
They have been traumatized. They are very grateful for the support and care they've received. They realize that this is a horrific event, and the fact that they were in a healthcare facility just makes it worse.
We now know the name of the woman killed, Amy St. Pierre, a 39-year-old mother of 2. Her friends describe her as a beautiful soul.
She's always there for us as a friend. She's a wonderful mom of 2 little ones, and yeah, we're gonna miss her.
St. Pierre's friends say if she were alive today, she would be marching and advocating for gun reform. Now, we've heard from several Georgia Democrats who support that type of change. We've also heard from Georgia Republicans, including Governor Brian Kemp, who offered his condolences and prayers for the victims and their families. In Atlanta, I'm Abby Casoris.
And as people continue to mourn that shooting in Atlanta, in Washington, Senator Raphael Warnock says it's time for change.
This is the people's house. And the people on the left and the right, ordinary people, are speaking loud and clear. Most of them support universal background checks. Most Americans support a ban on assault weapons. Most Americans support some movement around red flag laws. We can talk about all of this, but let's have the debate. But doing nothing is not an option. It's unacceptable.
Senator Warnock says he's working with members on both sides of the aisle to pass gun legislation. He says this shooting hit him hard. Not only was it in his hometown medical center, it's so close to his kids' schools that they were put on lockdown. 4 people, including the suspected shooter, are dead following 2 incidents that happened in Moultrie, Georgia. 2 of the victims were the mother and grandmother of the shooter, and the 3rd victim is an assistant manager at a McDonald's. It's not clear if the suspect even knew the employee. Officials say after the shooter killed the 3rd victim, he took his own life. Over the next several months, Tybee Island and many other beaches along South Carolina will will become home to sea turtle nests. If you're vacationing to the beach this summer, Shay Schrader from Tybee Island shows us how to give turtles the best chance of survival.
Rules are fairly simple. Keep the beach flat and clean. That means knocking down sandcastles before you leave the beach so you aren't blocking a mother from making it to the dunes. Another important thing, keeping the beach dark.
Make sure that none of your light from your Airbnb or hotel room is spilling out onto the beach. And if you're taking a night beach walk, there's no need for a flashlight.
The reason? Bright lights can deter sea turtle mothers from nesting or confuse hatchlings who use moonlight reflecting off the ocean to find their way to the water. Bright light bulbs can draw them to land where they could be eaten or stranded. Volunteers will be patrolling Tybee's beaches at dawn to check for signs of nesting. When they find a nest, they'll mark it with caution tape and take protective measures.
We also this year are having to worry about, as last year, for the first time, coyotes, a predator that is new to us, but not to the barrier islands. And so we'll be having extra protection on the nest. And that is going to be a little bit of construction fencing on the top to prevent a coyote from digging up the valuable nest.
Even with the coyote problem, last season Tybee saw a record-breaking number of sea turtle nests, as well as the whole state of Georgia, with around 4,000 being recorded in the state. Audrin says that this year, however, numbers aren't expected to be that high.
After a big year like that is a little reprieve, and so a reprieve is still 3,000 some nests. It will drop a little bit this year, but we'll still get around 3,000 nests this year.
And sea turtle season typically lasts until the end of October, so just getting started here. Okay, let's go across the river now to South Carolina. A bill that could soon be on the governor's desk would ban South Carolina cities and counties from enacting their own local restrictions on e-cigarette and vape sales. Opponents say it's dangerous, but supporters of the bill say part of it would help keep these products out of kids' and teens' hands. Our State House reporter Mary Green has more.
Opponents of this bill claim it's pro-big tobacco and dangerous, but supporters contend it's pro-business and creates uniform tobacco regulations statewide.
With inconsistent rules, it's impossible for business to stay afloat. It's tough enough as it is, but these small businesses need this help.
This bill would make it illegal for local governments to enforce local rules on cigarette, e-cigarette, vape, and other tobacco and nicotine product sales, including banning certain flavors or ingredients from being sold within a city or county. Local laws and ordinances put in place before 2021 would be grandfathered in under this bill, and it wouldn't prevent cities and counties from enacting no smoking areas or zoning ordinances to ban smoke or vape sales in certain areas, like close to schools. Senators also amended the bill to crack down on those stores illegally selling nicotine products to minors.
Right now, they just get a slap on the wrist. This will set up a process that if they keep doing it, they will lose their right to sell nicotine products across the board. And I think that people will respond to that.
The bill would require stores that sell these products have a new tobacco retail sales license, and it would ban minors from even entering stores that primarily sell tobacco products, including smoke and vape shops.
There are going to be people watching you. There are going to be penalties if you're selling to children. So if you are, stop it.
The American Cancer Society opposes this ban on local governments imposing their own tobacco rules, saying South Carolina needs local laws to protect kids, not state interference.
It's hard to reconcile as we talk about children that we would be in favor of rolling back one of the most powerful tools that local government has.
The version of this bill the Senate passed this week is different from what passed earlier this year in the House of Representatives. So House members will next have to decide if they'll accept these changes and send this bill as it is to the governor, or if they try to work out a compromise. Reporting from the State House, I'm Mary Green.
The American Cancer Society reports more than a quarter of South Carolina high school students use tobacco products, including e-cigarettes. A new program is now in effect in South Carolina that Republican leaders are calling transformative and monumental for education. Yesterday, Governor McMaster signed the state's first school voucher program into law. It creates education scholarship accounts and will give up to 15,000 students $6,000 a year to spend on private school tuition and other related costs.
This is a day for celebration. There's no doubt about that. But I would also say that we're not finished. We are far, far, far from finished. This is a great tool to have, a great option for parents and students to have in South Carolina. There are other ones coming, and we need to continue to improve.
Lawsuits are expected to be filed soon, challenging this program's legality. The state constitution prohibits public money from directly going to private schools, but Republicans say they're confident this will hold up because it involves indirect payments. Defense attorneys for Alec Murdaugh are asking a judge to let them access more of his funds to help pay for his appeal. Murdaugh's defense argues they need an additional $160,000 in legal fees to appeal. So where's that money coming from? Well, it's currently in the hands of receivers who took hold of Murdaugh's assets in 2021. Here's what the attorney for the receivers had to say.
Our goal here is making sure no one gets out ahead. If they go ahead and get their money now without that sort of accounting, claim process, and evaluating vis-a-vis every other claimant, then they're getting an inappropriate preference. And that's what we're trying to avoid.
The judge says he expects to have a decision on the matter by next week. If you have a pet, you may have noticed how difficult it can be to get them to see a vet, especially if it's an emergency. South Carolina ranks among the worst states when it comes to the shortage of veterinarians. According to the state, South Carolina ranks 46th out of 50 in the number of vets per 1,000 people. A vet surgeon says it's not just the lack of doctors putting a strain on the system.
We could handle a lot more capacity now if we had more technicians. And so, they keep talking about a veterinarian shortage. I have to think to some degree there's a support staff shortage that underpins that.
South Carolina is one of the only states in the country without a vet school. Clemson University is now working to change that with help from state lawmakers. More than 1,000 people have been charged in connection with the January 6th attack, and so far, every defendant who's faced a jury has been convicted, including the 5 members of the Proud Boys found guilty yesterday. And as Skylar Henry tells us, 4 were found guilty of the most serious charge.
4 members of the far-right Proud Boys were found guilty of seditious conspiracy and other felonies, ending one of the largest and longest trials connected to the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol.
The Justice Department will do everything in its power to defend the American people and American democracy.
A 5th defendant, Dominic Pizzola, who used a police riot shield to break through a Capitol window on January 6th, was found not guilty of seditious conspiracy, though he was convicted of other serious charges. Federal prosecutors argued the defendants plotted to unlawfully use force and the crowds to keep former President Trump in office. Although the group's ex-leader, Enrique Tarrio, was not in D.C. on January 6th, prosecutors alleged that he was involved in planning ahead of the attack and pointed to a message he sent during the riot saying, quote, "Make no mistake, we did this."
The jury has spoken, and that's our system of justice. Very disappointed in the verdict.
Defense attorneys argue that it was former President Trump, not their clients, who was to blame for the violence. They're planning to appeal the convictions. Jared Hill, CBS News.
So that was Jared Hill, not Skylar Henry, but the message still stands. Several members of the far-right extremist group, the Oath Keepers, were found guilty of seditious conspiracy last year. Sentencing for them is later this month. A New York judge is set to hear arguments about a protective order in Donald Trump's criminal case. This is the first hearing since the former president pled not guilty last month to falsifying business records with the intent to conceal hush money payment. The hearing is about whether to restrict what Trump can say about the case publicly. His attorneys argue, as a 2024 presidential candidate, Trump should have the ability to defend himself against the charges while campaigning. The trial isn't expected to start until next year. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas has begun a 2-day trip to the border. The trip comes as a pandemic-era immigration rule which allowed the U.S. government to expel migrants seeking asylum is coming to an end. Nicole D'Antonio explains from Washington, D.C.
DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas met with Customs and Border officials in Texas for a first-hand look at preparations for the end of Title 42.
We've been preparing for what is to come when Title 42 is lifted.
Title 42, the public health order which allowed the government to expel migrants during the COVID pandemic, ends next week. 1,500 soldiers and Marines will be on hand to assist, with large numbers of migrants moving towards the southern border in anticipation of the policy change.
These troops are not going to participate in law enforcement activities. They're simply going for to flesh out what is already an existing mission by DoD on the border with administrative tasks, helping with logistics and sustainment and that kind of thing.
Lawmakers are working on a bill that would mimic Title 42, allowing the government to expel migrants, but it wouldn't be tied to the COVID pandemic. Republican Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina and Arizona Independent Senator Kyrsten Sinema are co-sponsoring the bill. Right now, Title 42 accounts for nearly half of all migrant expulsions. Congress has struggled for decades to pass immigration reform, and it is already galvanizing candidates heading into the 2024 campaign. Former President Donald Trump, who's running for office, again slammed President Biden about the issue on social media. Nicole D'Antonio, CBS News, Washington.
Tillis and Sinema claim their bill is bipartisan, but won't say which Democrat is joining them as a co-sponsor. Kentucky Derby Week is off to a bit of a troubling start. 4 horses have died within 5 days at Churchill Downs, and that's casting a shadow over this year's event. 2 of the deaths involve horses trained by Saffie Joseph Jr., a famous trainer. He says it's not clear what happened. Blood work revealed nothing out of the ordinary. 2 other horses, including Derby contender Wild on Ice, had to be put down after getting hurt.
We're just running into a bad streak here. I think you'll see it play out where we go for a long time with no injuries and no deaths, hopefully anyway.
The head of the Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Authority will analyze the deaths and will share the findings once the investigation is complete. The 149th Kentucky Derby is set to run tomorrow. British pop star Ed Sheeran is relieved after a jury found he did not steal parts of Marvin Gaye's classic Let's Get It On for his own hit Thinking Out Loud. Meg Oliver tells us Sheeran said the trial was a threat to all artists to create their own music.
Honey, now. It was a Grammy-winning mega hit, but to the heirs of Motown co-writer Ed Townsend, it was plagiarism. Ed Sheeran even played a mashup of his Thinking Out Loud and Marvin Gaye's Let's Get It On back in 2014. The plaintiff's attorney called that a smoking gun. The jury didn't buy it. After the verdict, Sheeran called the charge baseless.
It's devastating to be accused of stealing someone else's song when we've put so much work into our livelihoods. If the jury had decided this matter the other way, we might as well say goodbye to the creative freedom of songwriters.
He talks about it in an interview airing this weekend on CBS Sunday Morning.
It's 4 chords that get used in pop songs, and there's however many notes, 8 notes or whatever. And if you just think mathematically, the likelihood of this song having the same chords as this song, you are going to get this with every single pop song from now on. Like, unless it just stops, which I don't think it does, because it's a big money business to take things to court.
Sheeran's writing process was revealed in court as he strummed his guitar in front of jurors.
It's obviously cool to have anyone play music in front of you live. We ultimately came to what we thought was the right interpretation of the law that we were given.
Marvin Gaye's heirs were not part of this case.
I'm just a guy with a guitar who loves writing music for people to enjoy. I am not and will never allow myself to be a piggy bank for anyone to shake.
Sheeran said he also had to miss his grandmother's funeral for that trial. As we get closer to the coronation, hundreds across the UK are camping out in anticipation for the event. You can see shops are decked out with the Union flag. Street parties are planned and giant screens will show the ceremony at 30 sites across the nation.
I'm actually unplugging completely on Saturday and I'm just going to go and be in nature for a day with my phone off. So I won't be celebrating, but I know my mum will because it's special to her, because it was special to my grandma, and it can be like that.
A survey last week found 48% are likely to watch it on TV compared to 46% who say the opposite. You can watch the coronation starting at 5 a.m. on CBS. if that's your thing, you can do that early morning, though. It's an ongoing issue in several school districts. Bus driver shortages. The superintendent of a school district in Iowa is starting what could possibly be a side career as a substitute bus driver because of that same problem. Emily Schrad takes us there.
While many school districts across eastern Iowa have seen a bus driver shortage, the superintendent of Solon schools decided to open some doors to help fill the gap.
My first trip was actually my daughter's track team to Davenport. Okay.
After experiencing that driver shortage firsthand, the Solon School District got a grant that lets them train new bus drivers. That's when Davis Idle decided he wanted to sit in the driver's seat.
Between just the shortage of drivers and maybe needing a spare in an emergency every now and then, and being able to learn more about what the training consists of, I actually participated in that training.
And he got his bus license. Idle says with all the extracurricular activities students participate in, there are days they send out 7 buses and multiple vans on the same night.
And trying to put together the number of route drivers we need to drop people off after school, and then activity drivers to go to all these events. We run short sometimes.
Drivers with the district say while they were surprised to see him behind the wheel, they appreciate their superintendent helping wherever possible.
Well, I think it's a great way for him to lead by example. Obviously, we're short on drivers, so every driver is crucial at this point.
And while there was a bit of a learning curve.
I was nervous. I won't lie about that. There's a lot of controls and a lot of things that you're required to think about and do all at the same time. I'll circle around.
Idle says driving a bus has become a fun challenge.
You actually start to crave it a little bit.
Being able to step out of the classroom and see the kids in a whole new light.
I do like the different roles. And I'd worked in a large district and I came to Solon for a smaller, to be in a smaller district to where I could just be more of an educator and more involved. And I never dreamed that it would expand out to bus driving.
Superintendent says he enjoys the various roles in the district, and it's a good time to learn a new skill and not only help fill a need, but also better connect with the district. So good on him for doing that. A man hoping to start a new life in California is caught on camera saving a young life from speeding traffic. Nicole Comstock has the rescue caught on camera.
Cars travel pretty fast on Bear Valley Road in Hesperia. The speed limit here is 40 miles per hour, right in front of this car wash where Monday afternoon, gusty high desert winds rolled a stroller with a baby inside of it right out toward the road. That's the little one's great aunt struggling to get back on her feet after falling as the nightmare plays out.
She sees nobody. She sees the child going into the street, and that's all she sees. She can't do nothing.
Ron Nessman was waiting on a bench outside the car wash when he saw the woman in her 60s go down hard on the asphalt while trying to catch the stroller.
Didn't have time to even think about it. You just react.
Here he is on camera, running over with the Intercept, saving the baby boy before he made it all the way down the driveway and into the passing cars.
And I said, I got it, you know what I mean? Because I seen her, I felt so bad for the lady. It was like, I couldn't imagine. I got nephews and nieces, I couldn't imagine something like that.
But Ron says he can imagine being in that kind of distress because he's felt it before.
My girlfriend passed away in 2018, and yeah, it was sudden, so I didn't want to do anything.
The former truck driver says he became homeless after that heartbreak and only recently moved to Hesperia to reconnect with his family. He had just wrapped up a job interview when he unknowingly stepped into a new role as this little boy's hero.
I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I did nothing, of course, I'm just glad I realized it and was on it,
And he hopes the situation will remind parents and everyone that's watching a baby to make sure to lock those wheels on the stroller, but really good, right place at the right time for him. Okay, on to watching your wallet now. Freezing your credit is the safest way to protect your accounts from cyber criminals, but there's a little known side effect you need to be aware of if you go this route. Consumer investigator Rachel DePompa explains in today's Watching Your Wallet.
Most states still allow car insurers to use credit-based insurance scores as a factor when setting rates. And in a few of those states, if you don't unfreeze your credit when the insurance company checks up on your score will come back as a no hit, and you could be treated as if you have no credit history. Cherry Dale, a financial coach with the Virginia Credit Union, says that could lead to higher premiums. Now, not all carriers pull credit every year, so she says it's best to ask your car insurance agent when your company might pull a report. She says you could even ask the insurance company to mark your account so it knows that your credit is frozen.
And you can unfreeze it, and the bureaus have up to 3 days to get that credit unfroze so that insurance companies can have access to see what you're doing with your credit.
Now, there are states that allow credit reviews for insurance purposes even if the files are frozen, but it's also good practice to check with your insurance agent and let them know of the freeze. If you're getting ready to apply for a car, a home, or a personal loan, you will also need to unfreeze your credit while you apply. You can always freeze it again once you have your loan. With this, Watching Your Wallet, I'm Rachel DePompa.
Well, the age of the Jetsons may now be upon us. Robots that vacuum, mop, make cocktails, and clean litter boxes are popping up all across the country. But now another robot is coming to homes from Amazon. This robot named Astro is a glimpse at the future of robotics and can make life easier. Consumer tech reporter Jamie Tucker has spent the past couple months living with Amazon's new robot.
Okay, this is Amazon's robot Astro. It's pretty expensive, after taxes around $1,700. So what can it do? Let's find out. Astro, follow me.
Astro learns the floor plan of your house and every now and then leaves its charger just to hang out.
Astro, this is the living room.
And the names of each room. It also learns the faces, voices, and names of people in the house.
Astro, take this to Trey.
Astro will search through the house looking for the person to deliver the message or items in a cubby. Though it does have trouble sometimes, it never located my son, who was sitting on the couch, even after telling Astro which room he's in. It'll follow you playing music from your Amazon Prime Music account, and the kids will love games like charades and asking Astro to do certain things.
Astro, take a selfie.
And a periscope camera takes photos and videos saved to your Amazon account.
Astro, call Jamie's Office Echo show.
You can also make phone calls and video calls to Amazon Echo devices, and it follows you so you're always in the frame.
Yeah, it's fun, it's cute, but really worth $1,500, $1,700. Amazon will continue to upgrade Astro's abilities and skills so it can do a lot more. But right now, in the first edition, its strong suit is protecting your home, and I want to show you how it does that next time. That's What the Tech. I'm Jamie Tucker.
Yeah, one day Astro is not going to want to do work for you anymore, and then robots are going to take over. I've been on that train for a while, but if you have the kind of money and you want to get an Astro, he's in limited supply. Amazon Prime members need an invitation to purchase Astro. Okay, Mother's Day coming up. Don't get overwhelmed having to spend a bunch of money for Mother's Day. A bit of planning and creativity can go a long way. Jessica Allen from LivingWellSpendingLess.com has some tips to save money this year. She says be mindful before making an impulsive or last-minute buy and ask yourself what would really make mom feel special. It doesn't have to be about expensive jewelry or lavish flower arrangements. You can go for alternatives that speak to your mom's interests or love languages.
Maybe you're celebrating a mom who would feel just as loved, if not more so, with a handwritten note or a framed photo of a special event. Schedule your own photo shoot, or maybe book mom a class or a course or even a private lesson in an area of her interest, like a cooking class.
She also suggests avoiding restaurants. Mother's Day is always one of the busiest days for eating out. Instead, maybe take on the kitchen yourself and cook mom a little homemade dinner. To sports now, the Greenbrier girls soccer team competing for a state title and putting their undefeated record on the line. Dan Booth takes us to Duluth for that game.
The undefeated Greenbrier Wolfpack came into the Class 5A state championship game one win away from completing a perfect season. Like every great story, things can't come to a close without its final chapter, and in the finale of their storybook season, things did not go according to plan for the Wolfpack. The speed of the Chambly forwards was a major storyline in this match. The Lady Bulldogs pushed the pace and put a lot of pressure on the Wolfpack defense, which was one of the pillars of Greenbrier's success throughout the year. Greenbrier had only given up a total of 4 goals in their first 19 games this season. Chambly scored 4 goals in the first half of this state championship game. Chambly went on to score 5 more goals in the second half to bring Greenbrier's perfect season to an end, 9-0. In a game where the Lady Bulldogs took control in the opening minutes and never took their feet off the gas, the Wolfpack had every reason to fold, but they kept pushing forward against a Chambly team that's nationally ranked and has 5 Division I commits in their starting lineup.
Playing a group like that, whew, I don't want to be on the field. I mean, that was tough. But to see that fight, determination, I mean, goodness gracious, I saw so many things out of those girls today that made them warriors.
Despite not getting the result they were hoping for, the Wolfpack created countless moments this season that will help inspire future Wolfpack teams to take their game to the next level and maybe one day bring a state championship home to the CSRA.
And the overall season, to me, it's not a failure at all. I mean, of course, you don't want to lose in the final, but again, they pushed through as hard as they could, and I'm super proud of them.
Greenbrier finishes the season 19-1 overall, 10-0 in region play, and as the state runner-ups in Class 5A. Reporting from Duluth High School, Dan Booth on your side.
Tough finish for those girls, but nothing to hang your heads about. Great season. You should be very proud of yourselves. And, you know, those Atlanta schools, nationally ranked, they're tough to beat, man. They're tough to beat. Okay, the Aiken community is known all over the Southeast as a historic equine hub. If you've been around or live in that community, you've probably seen the horse statues there. Now you can have some fun with the new Aiken Horse Statues Scavenger Hunt. You can use a map and QR codes to find 9 horses scattered around the city. Our Will Volk takes a look.
They're all over Aiken.
It just ties to our equestrian history.
Life-size painted horse statues have been part of thoroughbred country for nearly 2 decades.
We had artists create 32 life-size horses, and they were auctioned off to raise money to support the Arts Center.
Aiken Center for the Arts Executive Director Caroline Gwynn says there's been a lot of interest in the statues since then.
We've had so many people through the years come into the Arts Center and ask questions about the horses, and they wanted to know more. So we created a treasure hunt.
It's called Horse Around Aiken. The map has 9 horses you can find around the downtown area. There's also a QR code next to each one that will tell you a little more about each horse's story.
You get to hear from the artist who created the horses, what was their inspiration, and then you get to learn about the place where they are.
Back at the center, there's a prize waiting for you if you find them all. Gwynn says it's meant to be a fun way to spend a couple hours exploring Aiken.
This kind of shares our equestrian history with the city, and it also explains what these horses are about.
In Aiken, Will Volk on your side.
And the scavenger hunt is free to do. We've got a link to the map on our website, or you can go to the Aiken Center for the Arts to get yourself a physical copy. So if you want to get out and do something this weekend, that would be a cool thing to do. You can find out about these stories and much more over on our website, WRDW.com. If you're watching this on the website, be sure to download our WRDW streaming app. You can do that on your Roku, your Fire Stick, your Apple TV, whatever your favorite streaming device is. You just search WRDW on there and give it a download. It is free to do. You get all of our I-Team investigations, first alert forecasts, live sports or live newscasts, sports coverage, Ariel Augusta, everything is up there on that streaming app. Also, if you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, you got here YouTube, search WRDW News 12, and it's right here, and then you just subscribe. Look at that, we're live right now showing you guys how to do that. So that's all also free, and it's going to be a little bit shorter clips, so if you don't have time to watch a full 30-minute newscast, it's a little bit more condensed for you to be able to do. And also all these News 12 Now segments, these extended interviews that we have, those will all be up on the YouTube channel as well. That's going to do it for our headlines for right now. We'll be back at about 11 o'clock. We are talking to the head coach and a couple players of the Aquinas girls soccer team, the state champion girls soccer team. So Dan Booth is going to join me virtually for that. We'll be talking with a couple of them about their season, going from a winless season last year to an undefeated championship season this year. We've got about 5 minutes here until the morning mix starts, so if you want to head over to the TV side of things to catch that, Natalia and Cliff will have the latest for you over there, and I'll see you back here at 11 o'clock.